All right, just we've had a couple really good days of practice. I didn't talk to you guys till before yesterday's practice, but so far two good days of preparation. We've got a couple more days to go before we head to Tampa. I'll open it up for questions.
John, the Josh Bellamy injury, he had an ankle and a weather report. Did that happen today in practice, or?
Again, I'm not real familiar. I think he just kind of tweaked his ankle a little bit. I'll get more information. I just left the field 5 minutes ago.
But that was today?
Yes, yes.
John,
He finished practice, so I think he'll be fine.
what can you tell us about Trey McBride and what his skill set is and what you've seen in him in the limited time you've had him?
I think he's, he's got a good skill set. He's played in the league. He understands the game. He's learning our offense. I think we only got him a week and a half ago. So he's a fast learner. I think he's got a pretty good feel for what we're doing, and we get to find out.
Does he look enough for you to be comfortable with him Sunday?
Yeah, we'll announce all that an hour and a half before kickoff, but so far so good.
Coach, can you talk about Eddie Jackson's performance last week? Starting as a rookie, came from a great program. Just what did you see that you liked?
Well, I've seen a lot from him that I like all through preseason. Obviously I thought he performed well. I don't know how much he got tested last week, but he functioned really good. He's a good communicator. I think he does well in all facets. I'm sure, Atlanta was capable of throwing the ball deep, did some. He wasn't really in that area of the field when they did. And I know Tampa Bay does the same thing. They've added Deshaun Jackson, who's another deep threat, along with Evans. And, their tight end crew is as good as there is in the league. And, of course, Winston can hoist it. So I'm sure that'll come up and he'll get tested. But, all in all, I've been very pleased with his performance.
John, you mentioned Cameron Brate yesterday and how he played last year.
Right.
What about him makes him a difficult cover?
Well, he's a long body. They feature him in the red area, when the field's short. I think, he does have good length and speed. So he has a good knack. I don't know if his top-end speed's quite what Howard's is as far as time speed, but he plays fast, and, he's a pretty good ball getter once that ball's thrown up.
So when you look at their defense and you see McCoy in the middle of that line, what are the things that an interior offensive lineman has to account for with him?
Well, he's got real good quickness and explosion. He's fast off the ball. He is athletic. He can change direction well. That can be disruptive inside. So we'll definitely have to be on our P's and Q's. They do some things on third down where they, will A-gap the middle with their linebackers. We've worked hard on that this week. So it comes down to execution, but he's definitely an outstanding athlete. And I think that's, probably why he's made the number of Pro Bowls he has. And, they've got that kind of guy really at every level. I know they got T.J. Ward. I'm familiar with him. I haven't seen him on Tampa tape yet, but I think Brent Grimes is is an exceptional guy as far as change of direction. So he can break and drive pretty quick. He's got good awareness. He's got some experience in the league. You already mentioned the front, Levante David, at linebacker. So usually, you're a pretty good defense when you got a top-notch guy at each level of your defense.
You're touting their talent offensively. You saw a talented offense last week. What did your defense's performance last week tell you about how it can contain or stop a very talented passing attack?
Well, every week's a new test. What we did last week doesn't make a hill of beans. It's what we do this week. And, I think there's some lessons learned. We've got some young guys, new guys to us that I think we're better for. So it's about execution. They've definitely got a skill set. They added Deshaun Jackson. Evans was already a factor. They added O.J. Howard, which is a 250-pound guy that runs 4.5, so he's got that kind of talent. Jameis can be a problem, keeping him in the pocket. He can extend downs. We saw a couple of times that happen in our game last week. So that's an area we have to do a good job both containing the quarterback as well as plastering in coverage when he does extend downs. So they present a lot of problems. It's that way every week, and we're on to Tampa and that challenge.
You had some success against the Falcons backs, of course, Falcons linebackers using your backs. But how unique is it to see another set of so much speed at the second level of the defense 2 weeks in a row with David and Alexander now?
Yeah, I think that's why I think they're picked to be pretty good. They haven't played a game this year. I think. They had a pretty successful year a year ago. I think Dirk Cutter and his staff have done an excellent job. They almost got into the tournament. So I know they've got big expectations, and they haven't got a chance to play a game yet. So I'm sure they're excited.
Ken, as your defense progresses, do you feel you're getting closer, that you're getting closer to takeaways? Or are they just, from week to week, is it just either happen or they don't?
You know, again, we emphasize it. We've emphasized it a lot. You know, I don't know that we've fulfilled that after one game. I don't think anybody has. So, you know, I think time will tell.
I know you only had the 1 year with TJ Ward, and you're not sure how he's going to work in Tampa's defense, but what do you remember about what he can bring to a group?
Well, I think his attitude, you know, I think just the way he works, basically his mindset, you know, can be, you know, a pretty aggressive one. You know, I think, you know, I've known him for quite some time. I coached his dad in college. So I'm familiar with him. He just brings a good mindset, and I'm sure that's a big reason why Tampa brought him there.
John, when you play a team as frequently as you've seen them playing the Bucs lately, is there any carryover from year to year in terms of what sticks in your memory, what you can use to game plan for them, or
It's all the same. I mean, we talk about this. People on the outside talk about it a lot, but it's just like a division opponent when you play them the second time. I mean, there's familiarity. I spent 9 years in that division at Carolina, so I'm very familiar with that organization. I don't know how much that helps, you know, here lately, or will help Sunday.
Are there things that carry through an organization beyond, I mean, even when they turn over their coaches and most of their roster, are there, you know, do the Bucs always play a certain way, and, you know?
Not really. You know, it's just, you know, and like I said, I'm not sure they're looking back to all those experiences, even versus us. So, you know, we played them real recent. You know, we played them the last 2 years. You know, so there's a lot to draw from on both sides. All right, appreciate it.
Sweatshirt on Sunday in Tampa, too.
Maybe. Okay, who's first?
Coach, can you talk about what kind of a role Nick Kwiatkowski is going to play this week?
I'll play a big role and have all the confidence that he'll do fine. He came along last year as he played more and more. He's had a good camp for us this year, and I have confidence in him to go in there and do a good job, and nothing will change.
How did you evaluate what Kyle Fuller did on Sunday?
He did a good job. I was pleased with the way Kyle played overall. There's obviously some plays that he'd like to do over and play him a little better, but overall I thought he did a good job, and I like where he's at right now.
Where would he fit if Prince is ready to come back this week?
We'll find that out when it happens.
Have you ever been part of playing a team that hasn't played a game that you guys have?
Probably not. Probably not.
What is there an advantage to being on one side of that or the other? So why?
Not really. I mean, I think, you know, the only advantage I could see, you know, is that, you know, we've lost some players from last week that won't play this week. They're pretty clean that way. But, you know, when it's due to a hurricane, you don't really worry about that. You do what's best for everybody.
That you've seen Jameis each of the last 2 years. Where in year 3 are you seeing his progression, his arc? What are you seeing now as a third year quarterback?
I'm seeing the same player, just he's a little bit better at everything. He's throwing the ball a little bit more accurately. He's got great pocket feel. He's a very confident player. I see an excellent quarterback. I see why he was one of the top. Well, I think he went second in that draft, or first. Yeah, I see why they took him.
Even with his growth, he's had 33 interceptions his first 2 seasons. Are there common denominators that you can pick up on that you can tell your guys, okay, here's how you capitalize on some of the mistakes?
Well, every interception has a story to it, and you know, I would expect those interceptions will come down for him in year 3.
Vic, last year you faced a guy in Kaepernick, who was in San Fran when you were there. What kind of an advantage is it for a coordinator to be facing a quarterback that was on your team previously?
I don't think it's that great of an advantage, really, because I think by the end of a week, and particularly in this setting here where it was a second game, you've done a lot of work for it in the off season. You know, you'd get to know any quarterback probably as well as you get to know anybody.
Like, what are some of the challenges that Brate and Howard are going to cause for you guys?
They're good players, you know. The 84 has been a really good red zone player for them. The quarterback is very comfortable throwing to him. He's got great route instincts and route running ability. He's a very good catcher of the ball. Howard is a really good athlete with good size, good blocker, you know, and get down the field. You know, they got two really good weapons at tight end.
Acho, they played 40 snaps, Willie played 20. What was the thinking behind that allotment of playing time?
You know, we were playing a team that passed the ball a lot, and we just felt more comfortable with Sam in there and the base stuff.
Is that fluid week to week?
Mm-hmm.
With Purnell, I mean, what did you see from the few snaps?
I thought he did okay, the few snaps that he got, and hopefully we'll be able to get him some more as we keep going.
I think there seems to be, you know, a happenstance nature to takeaways. But how do you feel about what your defense is doing to put yourselves in position to get them, whatever?
I feel good about what we're doing to try and get him. I don't feel good about the results, obviously.
But is there a fine line there? Something like
Yeah.
last week, it seemed like there
For
was
sure.
something
For sure, there's a fine line.
Is there a temptation from the players, or can there be, when they see a quarterback, a dangerous quarterback, but one who tends to give some opportunities for takeaways? I think Winston led the NFC in giveaways last year. Do they have to avoid pressing? Do you encourage them to go into the game any differently, or is it kind of the same?
No, it's the same. Just, you know, do your assignment, do it with the right technique. When the opportunities present themselves, take advantage of it.
How do you feel about the pressure up front Sunday to allow the back end to try and make more plays?
It was fine. You know, they threw the ball, particularly on the early downs, very quickly. And I'd never felt in the game that pass rush was a problem, even though, you know, there weren't a ton of hits or sacks. The ball was coming out extremely fast.
Pick on the 88-yard touchdown. When did you sense the disarray with the defense?
You know, as the ball was being snapped.
Big on that play, it seemed like Quentin, his focus was more on the side of Julio Jones. Is that kind of the danger when you're trying to focus too much attention on a guy of that elite level? Maybe, you know, going forward with a guy like Mike Evans, where that safety who's supposed to be in the middle might gravitate toward that side?
Yeah, it just, you know, John spoke a bunch about that play already. I don't really want to expound on it too much.
Do you think that Jarrell being passed might have had something to do with the confusion with what he said?
I don't know.
What kind of growth have you seen from Akeem Hicks in the last year?
He's gotten better and better. You know, there's still a lot of things he can do better. But I think he has improved. Okay, he has improved, and I expect him, he's in the prime of his career, he should continue to improve. It always won't result in big numbers, but there's little things that he can do better, but overall, we're pleased with his play and where he's headed.
Any specifics that you can share about the little things?
Oh, you know, just being lined up a little earlier, being always, you know, pad level's always something for a bigger guy. Just being aware of all the little details that go with his position within the defense.
Vic, what do you think of Eddie Goldman's production performance in the first game? Is he where you want him to be or where he needs to be right now?
Yeah, I thought he played fine. You know, our run defense was pretty good the whole game, and he was a big part of that.
On the offensive side, so much is made about using Cohen, you know, in a way that hadn't been used all preseason. How do you get your guys prepared for whatever sort of wrinkle you may see in the first game of the year that they've been saving, kind of?
Well, you always got to be ready for the unscouted looks. They happen more in first games than other games, but they still happen in games as you move forward, and you just got to be ready to adjust.
With Cohen, what did you see from him during the summer, then in the training camp from your side of the ball? What did you pick up on with that kid?
Very quick, a elusive, really loves football, and he's got a great enthusiasm for the game, and the game's not too big for him.
Anything else?
All right.
Appreciate it.
Jeff, when you assessed Connor Barth's season a year ago, you talked about his consistency and accuracy from 40 or 45 and in. And you talked more about him trying to make the distance case, and then he makes the 54-yarder to start off. And I'm just curious, is there anything that he has worked on or you emphasize with him when it comes to distant, longer field goals?
Nothing in particular. It's not like he hasn't made those kicks. You go back a year ago against Tampa, I think it was about the same distance. A lot of times he kicks a really true ball, and early on in the season that was good to see and didn't necessarily surprise us. He connected well on it and it went straight. So.
Jeff, how much of a decision was there on that play of determining whether it was in range?
Yeah, it was interesting because I believe the play before was in minus yardage offensive play. And we're trying to kind of wait for the spot to see exactly where it was. We talked in pregame in terms of distance. Hey, where do we want to kick going to which end or whatever? So fortunately for us, the quarter ended, and there was a lot more time to see, okay, that's exactly where it's at. Take a little more time. Where's the wind at now? And, because it's right on the fringe range of, especially early on in a game, it's, some of those decisions aren't necessarily will he or won't he make it. They become field position type things if you do miss it. And, how the defense is playing, like all those things factor in. And, we talked to Connor and he said, I'll make it. And it wasn't quite the Hoosiers moment, with Jimmy Chitwood, but he did, so that was good for him.
How much can Tanner help you on special teams, or what did he show during preseason on those units? Tanner
Gentry?
Yeah.
Tanner's a hardworking kid. He's got size to him, and he plays extremely hard. As the preseason kind of wound down, he was a guy that we weren't quite sure, is he going to be on the roster? Is he not? Because, we're not making those decisions. So Tanner's a smart guy, a little bit because of his body type and his intelligence. He's got position flexibility. So he can do a lot of things. We're trying to hone in on, okay, if he gets up this week, what roles can he take? Who else is going to be active? Sometimes those decisions go all the way to 90 minutes before the kickoff. So he'll be ready for whatever we ask him to do. Similar to Josh, in some roles, just because he can play outside, he can play inside. So depending on who else is up, if he does get a jersey, that'll define what he's doing.
In general, when you have a rookie like that who didn't play much special teams in college, how would you characterize the adjustment, maybe the acceptance level to find their niche in special teams, especially early on in their careers?
I don't think there's very many guys that come out as rookies in the National Football League who have extensive special teams experience from a coverage and blocking standpoint. There are some guys who get drafted and that's their college background and they're able to do that stuff in the NFL, but it's something that we face every year with every rookie. And you start from ground zero, teach them what we're looking for, you teach them some of the things that they're gonna see, and you just try and give enough reps over the course of the preseason that they can be successful, because it does pick up in the regular season. You're playing against, let's take Tanner, however old he is, 22, 23. Their guys covering kicks have been doing it for 8, 9 years who know the tricks of the trade. And I think sometimes you got to be a little bit mindful for rookies in general, asking too much of them, maybe putting them in situations where a little more simplified for them to clear out the thinking things and just let their talent take over. Football's football. You're blocking and tackling whether you're on special teams, offense, or defense. And that's what we're trying to convince them is this is, whatever, it's kickoff return. This is no different than when you're blocking on this play on offense. If it's kickoff coverage, same thing with the defensive player.
You can tell early some guys that embrace it more than others?
Sometimes guys catch on faster than others, but you know, there's a preseason adjustment for those guys, and then there's a regular season adjustment. I mean, there was a player we had in San Francisco, Michael Robinson, who's working for NFL Network, who, you know, he was one of our best special teams players as a rookie, his rookie year. Well, he wasn't very good his first 1 or 2 games, but it finally clicked for him. Not that he was bad, he just wasn't as good as what he ended up being. So there is a learning curve with those things. And, you know, by about midseason, well, about the first month of the season, by midseason, you can really see that learning curve come on fast.
Jeff, given that Tariq only had the one sort of punt return in college, when and how did you get yourself comfortable with, we're going to give this guy a legitimate chance to win this job?
About the first time he touched the ball offensively, you know, you see the skill set with the ball in his hands. He's a dynamic player. He's got great top-end speed, and he's not scared of it. So you try and get the mechanics of the catch and return and those guys' base understanding of these are the types of things that happen on special teams when the ball does get in your hands, and then putting them in more pressurized environments. That's what the preseason's for. And then you really don't know until the regular season. And, you know, there's always going to be things as coaches that when you have an inexperienced player back there that you're, you know, to some degree overcoaching because you want to make sure they have all the information. But, you know, the bottom line is he's carried the ball so many different times. You're trying to get him to that point where his talent can take over, and the space things is where he's usually going to be pretty dynamic. I think that's what you see offensively, and that's, you know, the kicking game, that's what that is.
What was your overall overview of the 3 returns he had Sunday?
I mean, he averaged 15 yards. If he does that for the whole season, he'll probably lead the National Football League. You know, it was a positive start. To say that, you know, he's headed the Pro Bowl or anything, I don't think anybody saw that as a returner anyways. But, you know, his positive attributes as a player certainly lend well to the return stuff, and, you know, we look for more things to come as the season goes on.
Buzz in the crowd. As a coach, can you feel that? I know it's situation based when you put him back there, especially when he has a big role in offense, but the momentum he can change.
Yeah, I mean,
do you feel that?
sometimes. I don't know that I necessarily felt that on Sunday. When a guy starts going a little bit, and I've played in Soldier Field, or I've coached in Soldier Field when Hester's out there, and as a visiting coach, I promise you feel that stuff. You're very aware of who's out there as a returner. I think as time goes on, you know, the more success that he has in whatever role that we give him, that those types of things will start to occur. But I've had players who are exciting like that in the past, and you do, you know, because the team feels it. You know, as you start going and you have a good returner back there, there's not too many guys sitting on the bench. You know, you look down there, and, you know, when there's a guy back there who's a good player, they all want to watch too. You know, you're just hoping the guys in the field aren't watching, they're actually blocking.
Well, have you found, do you get better blocking from your guys out there when they feel like whoever's catching it might be able to take it far?
It's a hard question. It's a good question. I think the players all know who's back there, and when they feel like you got a chance to score, you've got more people trying to get on the field. I mean, again, as a coach, you remember when Devin was here, and, you know, Tillman is always out there, and there's starters who are trying to get out there, and, you know, what can they do to help, you know, get us in the end zone or have a productive return? When that mindset changes, regardless of why, whether it's a good player, we've had success, or, you know, they really like, you know, playing special teams, when there's a belief, it certainly helps your production.
Jeff Kwiatkowski made a big play on special teams last week. How does him starting on defense affect his special teams role?
Yeah, the more guys are playing on offense or defense, usually we got to be mindful of that in the kicking game. He's not a guy that's going to, you know, not come to meetings or anything anymore, but his role will reduce a little bit as long as we get somebody up to replace him. Jonathan's been brought up to the active roster. Hopefully we get him up on Sunday to take over some of those roles, but it'll be spread out. But, yeah, that was a good play that he made on Sunday.
And just in general, how do you feel about the effect of attrition? We've talked about this before. It seems to hurt you the most when players get moved up. And how do you feel about being able to handle that attrition this year?
I don't know that I'd say it hurts us the most. It hurts everybody when you don't have your best players out there, but the domino effect certainly does affect us. you know, it just kind of depends on who's next. Fortunately for us, the two guys that are coming up off the practice squad, they played well in the preseason. You know, there's a couple guys still on our practice squad that we feel like, you know, at some point this season, maybe they help us. It just kind of depends on who you're able to get to replace the guys playing those roles. They're going to be different people. You're hoping the performance stays at the same standard you're trying to coach to.
Jeff, to that point, what do you lose with Benny?
Benny's a good player for us. A lot of the same things he does offensively, he does for us. He's got position flexibility. Benny's a smart guy. Benny's a little bit of a thicker back. He can cross-train in a lot of different ways. So obviously he's returned for us, you know, somebody else out of that mix. So if he's out this week, you know, we'll have to have another kickoff returner ready. DT took it over last week. We'll see what his offensive role is and kind of how we split those reps. But Benny was a four-phase starter for us a week ago. So if he's not up, obviously we've got to pick those up from other guys.
You added the practice squad. How long does that take to kind of learn everything? Can you learn it?
Which practice squad kid are you referring to?
I'm sorry, the returner.
Alford?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he could learn it if he were to be activated. For now, fortunately for us this year, we've got guys up on our roster that it's not like immediate shoot, this guy has done it. We've got some other guys who have done it. So, but if we needed to play him this week, we could get him up to speed.
What's the impression Daniel Brown has made to you just from the team's perspective the time he's been here?
Yeah, well, he's a little bit of an interesting case for us because last year we acquired the player. He's trending towards, okay, you're going to get up, you're going to play special teams, whatever. Zach gets hurt, and he goes from playing 0 snaps on offense, and he's out there, 50, 60 plays or whatever. So he never kind of had that, all right, you're a four-phase guy or whatever. Daniel's got good size. He's got good athleticism. He's a smart kid. He cares. So we like a lot of things about that. Last year, he didn't play a ton for us. He played some, but not as a four-phase guy most of the year. So that's kind of what it's been this year.
Broniker was kind of that
role
and more advanced in that.
Well, I mean,
he
just happened to play more. Yep.
You mentioned being mindful. Do you have to be mindful with Tariq at all if his role expands in the offense even more?
Absolutely. Yep. I mean there's not that you can't do it. You saw Antonio Brown's pretty good as a wide receiver. He's pretty good as a returner. There's guys who have done those things in the past. But yeah, I mean, as we have other guys who are capable on a roster, maybe doing some of those things, as a special teams coach, you got to watch and see, okay, how much of a load is this taking? For an offensive player, it's not like he was on the field on the previous defensive series, right? So he's going to be fresh as a returner. But as the game goes on, that's certainly something that we're watching.
Anything else?
All right. Good luck, guys.